Hello and welcome to episode 156 of the Perth to Paisley podcast, a podcast dedicated to Heart of Midlothian Football Club. The Jambos bounced back from a ruthless Rangers romping to a 5-0 victory over them at Ibrox with 4 points from a potential 6 against Hibernian and Celtic at Tynecastle, but maybe not in the manner that you'd expect. Joining me, Adam Kennedy, to discuss the two games in Gorgie is Daniel McIver. How are you, McIver?
Surprisingly very well, because at this time last week, I think I was thinking, oh God, listen, a derby can go either way, and it's us versus Celtic. I was dreading coming back at this episode, especially when we then have what happened in the derby. I was like, this is going to be a nightmare, and it's ended up being absolutely class. So I'm buzzing. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Yeah, pleasantly surprised. I think heading into that match on Sunday, I was not feeling too optimistic. But yeah, I just thought it had all the hallmarks of an absolute schooling from Celtic, and I think we're just going to go straight into the around the grounds in midweek because this was part of my logic. There was one match on Tuesday that saw Ross County and St Mirren share the spoils up in Dingwall in a one-each draw. St Johnstone picked up their second away victory of the entire Scottish Premiership season at Aberdeen, 2-0 against them at Pittodrie. Celtic swept Dundee aside by 7 goals to 1. They were 6-0 up at half-time. And just as just as the Edinburgh Derby was taking place, I was getting the updates and thinking this is really not good. We need a win here. Pronto, more on that to come. Kilmarnock took the lead, but unfortunately fell behind and lost 2-1 to Rangers at Rugby Park. And the other match, which was live on Sky Sports, saw Livingston take an early lead, and it looked as though their Scottish Premiership future remained in the balance. However, that was not the case as Motherwell responded with three second half goals. Former Jambo Sam Nicholson amongst the scorers. What did you make of the other five midweek matches, Mr. McIver?
I didn't
What are
even know
you so
that.
confused about?
I
Oh,
didn't
did you
even
know?
know that
Oh,
Nicholson
oh, there you
scored.
go.
I'm buzzing for him.
Great
Well
header.
in. Well in. But yeah, I mean, Livingston are down.
Yeah.
Like, they are relegated. We might as well just all
Just as you
accept it now.
thought they might have had a little something, though.
I
Like,
know. I
I
know.
thought they were dead and buried, and then they sort of looked like they might pull something at the hat, but it just doesn't look that way now, does it?
No, a proper Al Pacino moment, but no, they didn't. I'm actually glad that Rangers won because it
Interesting.
at the point in which I saw the result, I was like, this this brings it to within 9 points. Could we do something disastrous here as Killy continue to rob up? But now it's fine. We're done. The game's dead now. But Derek McInnes has just got Killy playing very well. They're solid. I know obviously the result of the weekend didn't go great because of Lewis Mayo. Just dump tackling somebody basically, as we will get into later.
Oh, we certainly will.
But generally, they're having a very good season. Um, I'm going to speak about Aberdeen later. I'm going to
Okay.
put my emphasis on them later. St Johnstone, it was just really funny.
Yeah.
Basically, it was just like, of course, Levine goes and wins there. You could tell Gowser was really chuffed with it after
Oh, that
that
clip
wee
is
moment.
phenomenal.
Very,
Absolutely
very good.
sensational.
And then, yeah, the big talking point very much was Celtic. I just looked at my phone at half time. Obviously, we had the half that we're about to discuss and going, oh, right, okay. We'll see. Oh, 38 minutes in, 6-0 Celtic. And just looking
Yeah.
at my brother and being like, this is it. We're fucked. But obviously what happens happens. Fair Dundee are the weirdest team this season. Every single time I think they're going to go on a run, I'm like, oh yeah, they're sorted, and then they get battered, and then when I'm like, oh, is now the time where they fall away? They then just go on a run and get
The
points.
elite position reflects that, doesn't it? You just can
Yeah.
never quite work them out.
And then I'm buzzing for Don Cowie, who's
What a
kind of
man.
he's getting county playing, which
Donaldo.
again plays into what I'll speak about Aberdeen later. I hope he keeps getting them playing because that
Oh,
would be lovely.
absolutely. Absolutely. But we are here to speak first and foremost about the Edinburgh Derby. Don't want to spend too long on the Derby
Yeah,
because
it's
of a
fine.
wonderful weekend win and the fact that we were held at home. Stephen A. Smith made 3 changes from the Rangers route as Cammy Devlin, Alan Forrest, and Scott Fraser all came into the starting 11, with Benny Beningame, George Grant, and Kai Rowles dropping out. That meant the Hearts lined up as follows in a 4-2-3-1. Xander Clark in goal, back four of Nathaniel Atkinson, Frankie Kent, Stephen Kingsley, and Alex Cochrane. The two Aussies, Cammy Neuenhoff, Callum Neuenhoff, and Cammy
That's your name
Devlin
now. It's
were
fine.
sat in front of the back four. Kenneth Vargas on the right, Alan Forrest on the left, and Scott Fraser looking to support Lawrence Shankland. What did you make of that team when you first saw it, McIver?
Barring Atkinson for Limbakisa, is that not the exact team that you wanted the week before?
I wanted Cammy Devlin's energy in there.
You wanted
That was good.
Kingsley instead of Rolls,
Kingsley instead of Rose.
Fraser instead of
Scott
Grant.
Fraser to maybe be given a chance. What a horrendous shout
Oh
that
my
was.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Generally
was
though,
pleased, but we're not here to talk about me.
yeah,
I'm asking you. What did you think?
I was I was accepting of it. I was like, that looks like a good team. It's
They
players
should have
in
enough.
correct positions. We should be fine. I, the main takeaway from it, the main takeaway that I have from it now is that is this harsh because he's clearly no fit, but I've seen nothing from Scott Fraser yet to make me want to keep him beyond this season.
It's not harsh. I said I'd rather have Aaron Fraser than Scott Fraser.
Yeah, it's a pretty fair point, and that is when you can that one knackered. But I like,
Sorry, Aaron, if you're listening.
yeah, that was
It's not
more
a
of a dig
reflection
at
on
Scott
you, believe
Fraser.
me. Yeah.
Um, but just I understand that it was kind of weird how he was getting chucked out wide a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Because I
I,
know
I,
that we have this thing where like Vargas and Forrest keep swapping, but the 10 seems to always stay as the 10, but they just kept going round.
But it felt like Vargas was shifting up alongside Shankland at various points
Yeah,
within the game, and Scott Fraser was then just given a wide berth.
it was
I
really
don't remember
weird.
him ever playing out wide previously.
No, and that's what I mean. So it's kind of like, oh, well, look, he was being asked to do something that he's not necessarily comfortable with. And he has said himself that he hadn't played in ages. And because of the situation between us and Charlton, he couldn't really train either because he was in between places. But
Yeah, when they'd sacked Appleton and were then
yeah,
getting Nathan Jones in and whatever.
exactly. However, barring his assist for Shankland at Airdrie, he's not offered
No,
anything.
no, he hasn't. Perhaps one of the biggest kind of disappointments within our signings this season. I would say that our most disappointing signing this season so far, really,
Yeah, probably.
in terms of what we needed and what we thought we were getting.
Yeah,
The fact that
especially when you look at
the
the fact
Yan
that,
Danda
yeah,
debacle.
exactly. Who, by the way, has signed a pre-contract with us and just fallen off a cliff in terms of form and ability.
Well, I thought he was injured, and it doesn't.
No,
It hasn't featured recently, but now we just don't know. Has he been frozen out? Like I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, but the two
Don, get him
games,
playing. Come on.
the two games that he played beforehand, Footmob gave him the lowest rating in both games from a Ross County perspective.
Well, that's encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Everyone, because I saw there was discussion, there's rumours that Blair Spittle is signing for St Mirren on a
Yeah, I heard
pre-contract.
that.
And I saw people, I think it was the
Seems
Terrace
such a
lads,
sideways step.
going, remember, a pre-contract is one of those things that can kind of be ended at any time. So, like, alongside Blair Spittle going, actually, hold on, I can do better here. I've seen a lot of people go, should we keep the Jan Danda thing? But I'm sticking by him. He's going to be good when he comes to us. Please, Jan.
I
Please.
wouldn't say no to both. Being
I
greedy,
wouldn't mind Blair Spittle.
but I really wouldn't. But yeah, I think both are decent. However, what wasn't decent was the first half.
Yeah, it says a lot that we're speaking about Blair Spittle than instead of the Derby.
Much like most Edinburgh derbies these days, this was a game devoid of any real quality.
Yeah.
I think I said that because it wasn't on the telly, it would be a good game. Again, curse of the commentator, hold my hands up, apologise to
Yep.
absolutely everybody. This is entirely my fault. I've let you all down. I'm sorry.
I'm glad that you're taking awareness of it. I was going to mention it, but
Thanks.
well done.
But as I said, Hibs would strike first. David Marshall clipped one out to the right-hand side on 28 minutes, where Lewis Miller flicks on for Martin Boyle, who outjumps Stephen Kingsley in the process. It breaks for Boyle after Dylan Venter can't quite connect. Frankie Kent's on the deck. Boyle's clean through on goal, looks to dink it past the on-rushing Xander Clark. However, Nathaniel Atkinson, his international teammate, is on the line to block, but does so straight into the path of Emiliano Marcondes, and the Dane slams home from close range. What I wanted to ask you about, McIver, is what annoys you most within the goal? Is it Stephen Kingsley not winning the aerial duel? Is it Frankie Kent going to ground in what's certainly a rarity? Is it Atkinson's attempted clearance, Sander Clark, the space Marcondes has? Let me know your thoughts.
The first thing is, I didn't realise Marcondes is Danish.
Yeah.
I don't know why bizarre. I thought he was Italian. I've no idea. Maybe because he made that comment. I thought
he was about... Argentinian, but then it turns out his last name's Jensen and Marcondes is like middle
really?
name.
Oh, yeah. Fair enough.
Bit of pointless information for y'all.
In terms of people I have issue with, I have no issue with two of the people you mentioned, and I have a lot of issue with the other two that you mentioned. The two that I have issue with
are the latter two.
No, are the former two.
Oh, wow.
Because Xander Clark does everything right. He closes down the angle. He tries to make himself as big as possible.
At least on the line.
Atkinson's mindset is just make sure this doesn't go in. It's not like he does his job in that position. It would be a dream if Atkinson could simultaneously clear off the line and send it about 40 yards. But he's just thinking, just make sure it doesn't go in. The people I have issue with are Kingsley for a terrible attempt at winning a header. It's so feeble. And Kent, as you said, in a complete rarity, he basically just stands on the ball and falls over. And it's like, it's a fluke. I understand. I'm not now suddenly going to be like, yeah, come on, Frankie Kent. You need to be better than this. Like, he's been signing of the season. I adore him. But it's just, come on.
He was one of only two players prior to the Edinburgh derby that had played every league minute for Hearts this season.
Who, by the way, jinxed himself in the game, the press conference before Rangers.
Oh, no.
Made a point about the fact that, touch wood, I don't miss many games.
Oh, no.
And it's like, what are you doing, Frankie? What are you doing, mate? And now he's out for weeks. So, yeah, it's just
not good.
It was emblematic of the way we were playing at the time. We just weren't really creating anything. We never really seemed to have a bit of control. There was a point on about 11 minutes. Hibs had started really strong. And about 11 minutes in, we started to get a foot on the ball and play it about. And people around me were getting annoyed that we weren't pushing it forward and had no urgency. But my point was, no, we need to get our foot on the ball here. Clearly, the mindset from the players was, we have barely touched this. We need to just get a bit of control. And it just felt, for most of that game, to be honest, never mind just the first half, we just didn't have a lot of control.
No, the possession that we did have, I think, I'm not a fan of necessarily forcing the issue. I think on Derby Day, that seems to kind of go out the window because we're so desperate to beat Hibs and we're so desperate to score. Whereas you get caught up in the occasion sometimes, don't you? I think a bit of patience was required. I think for the most part, I thought we did have prolonged periods of possession, but as you say, there was just an inability to carve out clear-cut chances. And I don't think that's solely down to Scott Fraser, might add.
No,
not at all. I was disappointed with his performance, and everybody will instantly look at him and think, well, he's number 10. He should be our creative spark. He should be the one to slot it through to your Forrests or Vargases or Shankland.
Barring Neuenhoff, no one did anything forward-thinking for most of that game.
No. And like I say, hadn't carved out anything too clear-cut, but thankfully, we were handed the chance to draw level from the penalty spot in 42 minutes. Now, Alan Forrest receives from Cammy Devlin on halfway, turns the afterburners on. Lewis Miller bundles him over. Will Fish looks to clear, but wanders into the path of Kenneth Vargas and is adjudged to have tripped the Costa Rican. Kevin Clancy points to the spot. Your thoughts on the penalty incident? Because I'll be honest, I do think it's soft. I always try and judge these incidents on how would I feel if Hearts conceded them, which is perhaps the wrong way to go about it. So I deemed it not a spot kick. What did you think?
So, in the moment that it happened, I didn't actually see it because I turned to my brother who had shouted for the Forest challenge. I
As did
turned to
I, out of
I
sheer
turned to him
desperation.
going, "Oh, I don't think it is." And then I suddenly see him jump up and I'm like, "I've missed something. Shit. What's going on?" So, we obviously get given it after a VAR check. I then at half time and kind of just like group chats that I'm in, are people going, "Oh, that's really soft," or it's people going, "That is an absolute disgrace. It's been given as a penalty." And I've still not seen it. I then managed to see it. It is soft. It's a soft penalty, but it's a penalty for two reasons. One,
Interesting.
Will Fit, the initial point was that I think what it's given for is the contact Fish makes on Vargas's ankle, right? I think that's why it's been given.
There's no reason for him to go down like he's been shot.
So this is the thing. I think that's why people think it's such a bad decision because of the way he goes down. See, if he
Yeah.
just falls, I think folk go, "Oh well, aye,
He's
there's
been clipped
contact
there.
there." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The way Vargas goes down is a disgrace. It's like, what are you doing?
And he's also got previous given, of course,
Yeah,
the St Johnstone dive, which I certainly haven't forgotten, and
yeah.
I
He
don't think
needs to
Ryan
get
McGowan or any of
this.
the other Saints defenders have forgotten.
He needs to get this out of his system because this is bad. But you initially look at it and I go, "Oh well, there is contact on his foot. He shouldn't go down as dramatically." But there is contact, maybe he's given for that. And then I look at it properly when I get home. Will Fish body checks him. Fish moves in and moves with his. I know people who are listening to this can't see the motion I'm doing, but basically, he goes with his shoulder and lifts it up towards Vargas as he's running. So there's contact. Again, the way Vargas goes down, it makes it, I think, harder for people to stomach. But I'll be totally honest. I can't believe the level of dismay from a lot of people. I think a lot of people will go, "Oh yeah, look, that's soft, but can understand it." And as you said, look at it through the your own team's eyes. If your team was given that, if Martin Boyle had gone down as
Well,
dramatically,
that's exactly my thoughts.
that
I thought if any Hibs player's going down like that, it's Martin Boyle, and I would be furious if that was given as a pen.
I'd be furious, but at the same time, I'd like to think I'd go. However, yeah, like Kingsley has made contact in two different positions on him.
But it was given. Having missed in the last Edinburgh derby, Lawrence Shankland was given the chance to pull Hearts on level terms. This time, makes no mistake, smashes beyond David Marshall into the top corner. But this was after being subject to AirPods, a bottle opener, and a pie being thrown. Any celebration, scoffing the pie that's been thrown from the stands and chucking the remains back at the fans is just iconic. What a man. But that being said, I can't remember Hibs fans as poorly behaved, I think, during an Edinburgh derby. I've seen them throw a coconut in recent years, but a bottle opener and AirPods are just bizarre things to throw onto that turf. And there's no excusing it either.
So a couple of things on it. I actually disagree with that. Actually, this has been a theme for me. I've noticed the last couple of times, the last few times Hibs have come to Tynecastle, I've really noticed that stuff getting chucked onto the pitch is happening all the time now. And I don't know what it is. I'm not saying this, by the way, as like a way to be like, so therefore,
Yeah, like
fuck
a
all Hibs
one-upmanship
fans
type
kind of thing.
thing. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
because my mate was at the game in the Hibs end and with their dad, and I was speaking to them after the game, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it was a disgrace. There was folk around us trying to chuck other stuff, and other folk in the Hibs end were telling them to stop and stuff like that." So listen,
Even
I'm not.
clowns entering the field of play as well, though.
Yeah, I
That
know
seemed like there
exactly.
was
Yeah,
more previously than has been going on in
that is
recent
probably true.
derbies.
Yeah. Um. So listen, I'm not trying to do that thing because Marcondes got patter at the end of the first half
Yeah,
for
yeah, that's
our
true.
fans as well. But it is starting to become a theme. in Edinburgh derbies at Tynecastle, Hibs fans are repeatedly doing it, and all that's going to happen is allocations will get cut. It'll be like, right, you just get the same section as everybody else does. That's it,
And
and it
that's not
kills
what
the
we want.
yeah, exactly, it
Yeah.
kills it. But I had a I immediately had a theory about what this meant for the penalty, and I work with a few
Okay.
Hibs fans, Hibs fans, and on the Friday I saw them, and when I said it, one of them was just like, "Oh, that's actually an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that." I think Lawrence Shankland initially is missing that penalty. I think you can tell by his body language, he's probably thinking, right, I missed my last penalty against them. I've had a no great history in recent terms. Do I hit this hard? Do I place it? Marshall probably knows where I'm going to go. And then I think with the level of stuff thrown at him, in
And the
particular,
sea that emanates from the away end,
yeah, in particular the bottle opener, which
which is
is
wild.
just insane. Like it's fucking mental, and like you should just get a football ban in order for
We're
that.
we're lucky that his
That his
reactions were as
reflexes are
good
so
as they
good.
were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think you physically see his body language change and he just goes, I'm hitting this as hard as I can. I'm just going to score this. So I think weirdly, I think it benefited us because I think it made his decision for him.
Just go to hell with
He's
this.
going,
Yeah.
right, I'm not going to try and do anything clever. I'm just
It's a
hitting this as hard
great
as I can.
pen.
It's his best penalty he's ever taken for
Yeah,
us.
it's a wonderful penalty.
It's
Right in the top
fantastic. And
banjo.
yeah, listen, the celebration is now immediately iconic. I will say, we've ragged
As
on
was
him.
his Instagram story after the
Yes,
game.
exactly. I love how
Even
you can.
despite everybody slowing the mark that he gave for the pie, can
Well,
I
this
just
is the
say
thing.
sorry?
I've never had the kebab pie because I don't like
Neither have I.
spicy stuff. But you could tell immediately he was like, "What is this? This is not a scotch or a steak pie." We've kind of been particularly pointing out the flaws of Scott Fraser. I felt a bit bad that some people were giving him shit for his celebration when clearly he's just trying to get everybody away because he knows stuff's getting thrown.
I didn't see that.
Folk were
I,
saying like, "Oh, look at everybody being like, come on," and then immediately Scott Fraser's like pushing Shankland back, and
I
I
don't
just view it as
I don't mind that.
it's him going, "We're getting loads of stuff chucked at us. What if you don't see something coming? Let's just
But
get back."
even at one apiece, like I'm not happy with that. But
Yeah,
for
no,
me,
yeah, that's a good point.
I want
Yeah,
to win every single derby at Tynecastle. Like,
that's a good
yeah,
point.
great, we're back on level terms. Grab that ball, meet me at the centre circle.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a good point.
I,
I felt bad for him that he
is
was
that just
getting
moaning
stuff
for the sake of
there.
moaning? Like, I
Yeah,
genuinely haven't seen that. I'm
I
pleased that I
think
haven't seen that.
I think it was folk who were just so annoyed at the result, and Fraser had a bad game, so folk are looking at any
Just
wee
looking to
thing to be
attack his
able. Yeah,
character. Yeah.
aye.
Okay, fair enough.
Don't worry, Scott. We've got your back. It's fine.
Get the fucking finger out. Right before halftime, Hibs spurned two great chances to retake the lead. First, Lewis Miller's long throw looks to be flicked on by Rocky Bashiri. Cammy Devlin clears, is rescued by Mariah Welsh, and his slide tackle finds Miller on the right again. The fullback sends a wicked cross that breaks from Marcondes, knees it up in the air, and volleys, but it's a superb stop from Xander Clark to deny him from close range. Daniel McIver, you wanted Craig Gordon back between the sticks. I stuck by Xander Clark. I'm pleased I did. What were your thoughts considering you didn't want him between the sticks?
I think Craig Gordon catches that.
Oh my gosh. You're at the wind up. You're at it. You are at it.
He has had.
A great
Oh,
week.
that's. I was about to say the best week of his Hearts career, but that's probably not true. But maybe it
Oh,
is. I don't know. He's had two fantastic back-to-back performances,
really
and I'm
good.
buzzing for him.
Really
Even
good.
though his Sunday roast looked really posh and weird, and I didn't like the look of his Yorkshire pudding, but
That is glorious content though. I burst out
it's
laughing as soon as I saw
great
that.
batter.
It is great
I
patter.
do. That's the thing. I love Xander Clark.
Yeah,
So
he seems like a top character, doesn't he?
he seems like a lovely guy, and that's when I am really chuffed. It's like, oh, if there's
If the
anybody that
sentimentality
is,
wasn't there,
yeah,
yeah.
if there's anybody that's going to keep Craig Gordon on the team, at least it's you. At least you're
Yeah.
actually good and seem sound. Because
And
to
not a
be honest,
knob.
for Craig Gordon, I need both. Because even if Clark was good, I'd be like, yeah, but Craig Gordon seems like a nicer guy, so therefore he should be playing.
However, from the resulting corner, which Marcondes takes, Rocky Bashiri heads over for Dylan Vente to smash home, but Stephen Kingsley's on hand. Thankfully, gnawed off the line. We enter half-time on level terms, and given the few chances that were in the match, were we perhaps fortunate to enter half-time on level terms?
I genuinely don't know. At around 35 minutes, when it was 1-0 to them still, I turned to Kier and was like, I think we can't play much worse than this. And I didn't think they could play much better. I think that performance by Hibs is the best that Hibs team can play right now. And
Okay.
that's not me saying that as a disservice because I think they played well. I do think they played well. My issue was just we're not putting enough pressure on that back line, which I don't think is a good
Which is
back
by
line.
far their weakest area as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think they've got a good goalkeeper. But as we said in the preview, I think they do have a good forward line, which you could see. I was actually surprised at how quiet Malida was during the game.
Yeah, I mean the only real thing that I can remember him doing was kind of setting Venti free with a nice
Yeah,
flick, and he missed an absolute sitter in the second half.
he did. He
Probably
did
the
miss
best
a
chance of the
sitter.
game.
Yeah, that is true, actually. I actually forgot about that
But
chance.
but but in terms of a threat, I do agree with you. I felt like we kept him quiet.
I was just thinking, right, half time. I would have taken Scott Fraser off at half time and was
Yeah,
just thinking, right, second half Hearts, come on.
but it didn't really arrive. Look,
I can't think of anything that really happened in the
no,
second
I
half.
was going to say we could brush over like a couple chances. I mean, the main one for me probably breaks on about 51 minutes. Hibs play a corner shot to Boyle, whose cross is headed away by Atkinson. Hearts counter, but Kenneth Vargas is thankfully offside just as well, given that he blazed into the
Aye.
Gorgie stand. It again, like Vargas. If Vargas had an ounce more composure, we might be talking about a different outcome because the best chances seem to fall to him.
Yeah. There's
But
that
just
one where he could have squared it to either Grant or Forrest, and it's a
yes,
tap in.
yeah, and again, like, is that the one that I think it's Kent launches it forward and
Yeah,
Shankland nods it on. He
yeah.
then gets round Abita really well and he smashes towards goal, but it ricochets off Fish, breaks back to Shankland, and again Hibs like block and Shankland's chip over Marshall as well,
Yeah.
very nearly. But in
We had
terms of actual
chances.
chances,
It was
like
just one
one
of
or
the
two, but
games.
not really
It
nothing
was
too
one of
major.
the games where we just didn't, we never got going. I think that's what I said when I came out. I was like, we never got going. Only Neuenhoff was the one who, well, and obviously Clark and Kent in terms of like defensive actions were
Clark and
really
Neuenhoff
good.
were the top two for me.
Yeah, exactly. And just the main takeaway from the game for me was Kent's injury.
Yeah. 84 minutes we saw Frankie Kent before he went down injured. And sadly he sat out Sunday, but we'll come to Sunday.
He seemed to be in
But
real discomfort as well. Oh, I will say that actually. I found that a baffling decision by Naismith to take off Cochrane when Kent was clearly still hurt. It's like Rolls is coming on anyway. You can do the system change that you want to. Just keep Cochrane
just
on and move
centre
him
half
into
or
the
centre
middle.
half or
Kingsley,
oh
and then have Kingsley, Rolls, Atkinson kind of sitting there, and then just keep Cochrane. So then you have Cochrane at left back and move Pollock into midfield as you were going to be doing anyway.
interesting. I mean I just that second half was just a blur to me. I'll be
Yeah,
honest. I thought it was a really poor game actually.
yeah,
Just like that's now two in a row that have been really dross.
minging. But
Yeah.
hey, still unbeaten against them this season.
That's true. Like strange that there's been no home victory in the Edinburgh Derby so far, though.
I know, I
We
know.
need
That is
need
weird,
them.
actually.
Hopefully, they finish top six and that run can continue.
Yes.
But we then moved on to the weekend where the fear was
Yeah.
emanating, given we discussed a slick Celtic performance in midweek, Hearts not being necessarily at their best, and after the Rangers rout the week before. I thought this had all the hallmarks of a Celtic schooling, but thankfully that was not the case. Before we get into chatting about Sunday and just a wonderful, wonderful win. We're going to go around the grounds. I can see you have a big smile on your face. Um, but let's chat about the other fixtures briefly. We were, of course, Sunday's sole fixture. The other five arrived on Saturday. Dundee and Kilmarnock drew two each for the third time in the Scottish Premiership this season. So goals galore when the D and Killie go toe to toe. Hibs hit the dizzy heights of sixth place as they beat the second worst team in the division, Ross County 2-0 at Easter Road. Motherwell claimed their first league win over Rangers in 20 years. That is excluding the infamous Premiership playoffs. And their first win at Ibrox since 1997. The first in our lives. Absolutely crazy as they got past the Gers by 2-1. St Johnstone and Livingston drew one each. Absolutely no point going into any further detail about that. However, perhaps the standout of the Saturday fixtures, Aberdeen look to have claimed a world record for the team that's been winning a league game for the longest time possible before then going on to lose it after a stunning Connor Barron strike. Had them well underway in Paisley after a minute against St Mirren, but they conceded 2 goals beyond 90 minutes and lost to the Buddies in Renfrewshire. What did you make of the other quintet fixtures?
I just checked that, by the way, because I know that Motherwell won in 1997. I wanted to see if you were right that it was in both our lifetimes. It was actually 3 months before I was born. So yeah,
May 97, I think.
Yeah, so just before I was born. Just
Owen Coyle brace. Like, it's mental that we know Owen Coyle as a manager.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Just didn't consider the fact that he might have played. Absolutely nuts.
Just
even James McFadden. James McFadden was on Sports Scene. He was the last bloke to score a winning goal on like Boxing Day 2002 or something.
Yeah, just
nuts.
Mental. I actually thought though it was a nightmare result for us because I was like,
because of the opportunity that Celtic
have now got an opportunity to go top of the league. It's 100%. Like, sake. But
and it adds to the frustration of me the week before, where it's
I knew you were going to say that.
How can Motherwell and Aberdeen have both won at Ibrox this season?
I will say, by the way,
Motherwell and Aberdeen.
6. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate people messaged or spoke to me going, is Adam all right? After that last week's episode, because the entire fan base seemed to go, it was an off day. And you were acting as if we were like getting relegated.
Because I see results like this and I just think Hearts are so capable, but it's never our day through there.
But that's their first result in our lifetimes through there. And look at where Aberdeen are, who we'll get to in a minute.
Well, that's it. Ultimately, what do you want? If anything, I've kind of got a theory on that. It just shows that the firm take us seriously and all the other jobbers, they don't really.
Exactly.
That might reek a delusion, but who cares? You're not Hearts fans that listen to this.
Exactly. It's fine. As I mentioned earlier, the male red card, why did they try and appeal it?
I don't know.
Mental. It's as clear a red as you'll see. And yeah, apparently that's just one of the most exciting games you can possibly have in the top flight this season.
Dundee and Kelly, who'd have thunk it?
Livingston, St Johnstone, one of the worst games of football ever. Do you want to know a fun fact about that game? So there was 10 minutes added on at the end of each half, right? So 130 minutes of football played.
110.
Yeah, I've realised I've actually knackered my original stat because the start was going to be
over 2 hours.
No, the ball was out of play for 70 minutes in that game.
Jesus, that sounds like a thriller.
Yeah, and my point was going to be it was
70 minutes.
70 minutes and the ball was dead.
Jesus.
How insane is that?
That just shows why both teams are where they are.
Yeah, exactly. But who gives a fuck about Hibs beating Ross County?
Not me anymore.
Not me. I was as the games were on, I was out for a family meal, right? So I was kind of just like checking my phone every so often. As we were leaving the restaurant, it was the 89th minute. And I looked at my dad and went, Aberdeen have won 1-0. There's only a couple of minutes left. And he was like, all right. My dad then we were walking down the Royal Mile.
Very nice.
We went from halfway up the mile, down onto Coburn Street, and I turned and went, they've been beaten 2-1.
Absolutely sensational.
Just, I know you're all going to get sick and tired of me saying it every week.
This Warnock agenda continues.
Listen, I fucking hate him, and this is amazing. This is like I've booked Warnock in the fucking SPFL. It's like it's like, Daniel, how do you want his run to go? It's like, this is how I'd want it to go. He's managing to drop points in every way possible. It's amazing.
I, I, Rob McLean was a guest lecturer of ours, and obviously he's working for
All right,
Aberdeen at the
yeah.
minute. So we were asking questions today, and I asked how is Neil Warnock as a guy because I'm just obsessed with him. Um, and he said that he was a nice man and whatever. But then I started to realise, I said it basically to the rest of my classmates. If Neil Warnock gets Aberdeen relegated, he is without a doubt the greatest British manager of all time,
Well,
and
this
I
is
will
the
not
thing.
hear any different.
I've seen people say
What a man!
this is his master plan to getting Morton in the top flight because Morton will win the playoffs. They'll play them and he'll throw it. Maybe
His
Neil
mates in the
Warnock's
Dunoon Rangers club will be
yeah,
chuffed.
exactly. Maybe Neil Warnock's heard that I don't like him, so he's been like, right, I want to get Daniel McIver's love. Listen, Neil, if you take Aberdeen down, you're my favourite British manager ever that has not been associated with Heart of Midlothian.
He'll be the
Just
undisputed GOAT, without a doubt.
like this was always going to happen. Neil Warnock's strength is knowing leagues and players and therefore being able to kind of just muddle your way through. He knows fuck all about the Scottish top flight, so
He,
doesn't
d-
know
he
what
doesn't even
players to
care though,
use.
mate.
No, he
He just
doesn't.
he's up here for it. He
Yeah,
just does not care.
it's
By
amazing.
his comments post match, like giving players holidays when you're struggling, just
I saw
baffling.
him, on Footmob how it has the
Because
momentum.
it's only temporary. I feel
Oh
like if
yeah,
he'd been
totally.
given if he'd been given beyond the summer, I think he'd view it entirely differently. But he's
Yeah,
just up for it,
probably.
Jolie.
Um,
Sorry, what were you saying?
On Footmob, there's that momentum graph.
Yes.
On the 65th minute, Aberdeen made two defensive changes. From that point on, the graph is just white. It's just like they literally sat in
Jesus.
from 65 minutes and just played for a 1-0 win. And you made a good point there by saying it's on a temporary basis. So I don't even think you get the benefit of Warnock that people view as a benefit. I don't
No.
view it as a benefit where people go, aye, but he's really passionate and he shouts at folk, so that makes him a good manager. Why did he has no reason to care and shout at
No.
folk? Because he's just away in a couple of months. And he keeps being like, it's a good thing I'm here. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You guided them to a win over Bonnie de Gros. Like
Like
picked up what? Has he even picked up yeah,
his
a point against Motherwell? And they were
his
three
uh
goals down.
his
At
point
home.
his point per game ratio just now in the Scottish top flight is 0.33.
Jesus wept.
If you haven't realised, I've really paid attention to how badly Neil Warnock's done here, and it's making me delighted. I swear to fucking God, I think he's going to win on Saturday, and I'm going to be furious.
But that's just literally like it's only so Dave Cormack and Alan Burrows can take their time over selecting the next
Yeah.
Aberdeen manager.
Imagine if he
Is all I
walked.
view it as. That'd be funny.
Imagine if he
That would
just
be
fucked off.
imagine he guided them to the playoff places and then
And then
walked
left.
like the night before or
I
something.
don't think that would be a benefit. Who is that guy that took them for that one game against Celtic where they drew
Peter
1-1?
Leven.
I think it was that ABZ podcast.
Oh yeah.
After the game on Saturday night, they shared his post-match comments with Red TV after that game. And he just speaks about the fact he was like, oh, at halftime, I just told them, you're all good players. You can do this. You do it in training. Just play with freedom and you'll be able to get a result. And
Neil
Warnock's
Warnock's
just
come in and
like,
slewed them all.
like I fucking hate. Majowski's no defending properly. It's like, what a
He loves
novelty.
Miovski, to be fair. Miovski's the
Ah,
only
he
one he
does love him.
rates.
But it's like, what a novelty telling players that they're good makes them feel better about themselves and play better.
And speaking of novelties, Daniel McIver. It's not very often that we're treated to a win over Celtic, particularly two within the same season. Um, I'm so happy. I'm
What do you
so
even
happy.
say about this, man?
Stephen Naismith made 5 changes from the side that drew in the Edinburgh derby. Kai Rolls, Toby Civic, and Dexter Lembakisa entered the back 3/5,
Yeah.
while George Grant and Benny Beringame were reinstated in the middle of the park. That meant Nathaniel Atkinson, Cammy Devlin, and Scott Fraser all moved on to the bench, while Frankie Kent and Kenneth Vargas missed out through injury. Hearts lined up in a 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, whichever way you want to look at it. Xander Clark in goal, a trio of Toby Civic, Stephen Kingsley, and Kai Rolls in front of him. Dexter Lembakisa right wing back, Alex Cochrane left wing back, Callum Neuenhoff, Benny Beringame, and George Grant in the middle of the park, with Alan Forrest supporting the main man, Lawrence Shankland. 5 changes is a lot, McIver. What did you make of that?
I understood why we went back to the 3/5 because it worked so well, particularly at Parkhead.
Yeah.
But I was worried because I went in going, I was like, this could be 4 at half time. I don't mean when I saw the team. I mean, when I woke up, I was like, this is going to be a bad day. We're coming out of 2 bad results. They're coming off the back of a massive result and now have the added impetus to go back top of the table.
Yeah.
We're missing our best defender, one of our best players this season.
Gorky was a ghost town on Sunday morning.
Aye. It was really... The energy was really weird before the game when you were sat in the stands.
I genuinely said to myself, I was like, as soon as I arrived in Gorky, I thought, we are at home today, aren't we?
Yeah, because I get it.
I had to do a second take because it just felt like something weird was in the air. Do you get where I'm coming from? It felt flat from the get-go.
I normally get in quite early, right? I normally end up for like 3 o'clock kickoffs. I get in at like 2:30, right? So I got in at like 11:30 and just watching the place fill up, it was like, flat is the best word. It was like everyone went in going, we're just going to get battered today. This is just what this is.
They kind of drank away their fear on Saturday night and are feeling the repercussions on the Sunday. They just woke up and just feel like a zombie.
Yeah.
So I can't be arsed to this today. Feel hungover. I have to watch Hearts lose to these clowns.
Yeah.
The fact that they'll go top and they'll have a party, all 500 of them.
The sentiment of I can't be bothered with this today is pretty much exactly how it felt. Everybody felt. And listen, the main concern that I think a lot of the fan base had was Kent missing, and as a result, Civic coming in from the cold. Benny obviously comes back in, who's been hot and cold at best in recent weeks.
Like I say, when I saw the changes in midfield in particular, I thought, I'm not entirely sure about that.
It was all very rational worries to have. And almost immediately, you could kind of feel like, we've remembered that football games start in the first half.
You said it there, novelty. A 90-minute performance. For the most part,
I know.
What a wild and wacky notion. So pleased. Because I thought we started really well. First chance on 7 minutes. Dexter Lembakisa's throw sees him received back from Lawrence Shankland, the right back. Finds Forrest, who flicks for the overlapping Shankland once more. He looks for Grant, who slips, but centres for Alex Cochrane on the edge of the area, but the fullback shoots, but drags it wide, fails to connect cleanly.
Take your time, Alex. I was fucking raging.
I bet you were.
I was like,
how much? A couple of quid.
My usual £2, 66 to 1. Because we're playing Celtic, so it's 66 to 1 instead of the normal 33. So I'm like, listen, I'll take a 6-1 battering if we score first and it's Cochrane, because then I could just be sat going
134 smackaroonies.
Yeah, and I'm like, Cochrane, your time.
Oh no!
Just fucking. I was so annoyed at him in that moment. I think there was anyone.
He was a stickler for an in-play card when it got to 4 or 5 fills. I know. 5 to 1, wee tenner. There you are. There you go. There's your money.
Like,
I love that guy. This is a shocker.
It's so bad. Shocker. I think everyone was disappointed with him. I don't think there was anyone on the ground more angry at him than me for that moment.
Understandably so. But there was anger around all the stands not long after. Matt O'Reilly exchanges a 1-2 with Hyun Jun Yang on 11 minutes, who's allegedly brought down by the main man, Alex Cochrane, and Don Robertson points to the spot as Celtic are awarded a penalty kick. It's just not a penalty, is it?
It's just, listen, This is the start of it. This is the start of what everybody's listening to this
Uh,
episode for. This is what
this,
you're all here
this
for,
is
right?
mental that they don't check VAR for this, as
Like,
well as the other incidents.
Chris Sutton is on commentary. Sutton is going, it's a 50-50 challenge. I even think that undersells it because Yang is
Runs
fully
into
the one
Cochrane.
initiating the
Yeah.
contact. You see Cochrane go down. I think Cochrane goes, oh, I've been fouled here. Because there's half
Yeah.
a second where Cochrane doesn't react to the penalty being given. Because I think he hears a whistle and goes,
Oh,
oh,
brilliant. Free kick.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's going to get booked for diving, or I've just got a foul on the contact. And then you see he gets it given as a penalty, and Cochrane then just loses his head. Now, listen,
Quite rightly so.
Cochrane does not have a good history in this fixture, right? He's been sent off twice in it, and he's now given away 2 penalties. Both the sending offs are fair. Neither one of the penalties he gives up are penalties. And just, you're thinking, we've had a really good start, opening 10 minutes, we've done stuff.
We're at it.
Yep, we're at it, and here it is. Here's what the inevitable begins now.
Yeah. And all our hard work would ultimately be undone. Or would it? Adam Ida steps up, but the Norwich City loanee is denied by Xander Clark, saves with his feet. Justice ultimately prevails. What a stop from the keeper. I stood by you.
Finds me in the crowd and shushes me.
Cup in his ear.
It was at my
you.
side, so he could have done it if he wanted to.
He should have. But the controversy doesn't
The
end
ball
there.
doesn't even go to play yet.
From the same passage of play, Hyun Jun Yang, who won the penalty, studs his marker, Alex Cochrane, who he allegedly gets the better of to win the spot kick, and is initially shown a yellow card. But the controversy does not end there. The VAR room were checking for a potential red card. Don Robertson is called over to the screen, and after making his mind up, eventually, he cancels the initial yellow card and decides to upgrade it to a red. Before we came on air, Celtic had lodged an appeal about the Hyun Jin Yang red card. But thankfully, just as was the case with Lewis Mayles at Kilmarnock, they have both been rejected.
They've released a statement. Hold on.
No, they've not.
I'm going to read the statement. The club's appeal over the... Oh, it's bollocks. The club's appeal over the red card shown to Hyun Yun Jang in Sunday's game at Tynecastle has been dismissed at an SFA hearing today. A club spokesperson said, "We have received notification that the club's claim has been dismissed. Clearly, we are surprised and extremely disappointed at this decision. Yang will now receive a 2-match suspension." So he hasn't been given an extra suspension, or has he been given? Does that mean he was given an extra game?
I thought it was 2 games.
Right,
No.
so he's not been given an extra
Is it not?
game for a ban.
Oh,
So
okay.
I reckon. But basically, how on earth is this debatable? I cannot believe the apparent Celtic TV commentary that the BBC used for their sports scene highlights.
Mark Wilson had an absolute shocker, didn't he?
Just
I'm intrigued
embarrassing.
to see his performance on Super Scoreboard this week.
Yeah. Neil McCann also going, just saying mental shit. Like, this is the problem I have, and I mentioned it on Twitter today. There's so many people that point out pundits, managers, as Brendan Rodgers did, podcasters like us, or just generally people with like
There's people with an invested interest in Scottish football.
Constantly are like, our referees are rubbish, like,
Which they are.
It's really disgraceful. How is it going to push forward the Scottish game? Like, come on, we need to be at a higher level here. And then you see this, the most black and white decision ever. Have you seen the reaction to this from like British football Twitter?
Not really. I mean, I've seen Dermot Gallagher's take on it. That was interesting.
So there's been like loads of like...
I agreed with everything he said, for what it's worth.
Yeah, football accounts, right? Of just like, because it was on TV and Sky, it's really easily attainable footage.
Yeah.
So like, you'll get like Lad Bible and stuff being like, Troll
football and all this.
Troll
rubbish.
football was one that I saw, because Troll football went, for some reason, this wasn't immediately given a 10-game ban, right? Because everyone else is like, everyone who's neutral in it is going, yeah, that's the clearest red card you can possibly see. It's
Even the wording
mental.
of the rules. I mean, if that is not endangering an opponent, then I've no idea what is.
And thank you for bringing that up because nowhere in the description of the rule is there anything about intent. And yet, Neil McCann, Mark Wilson, all other pundits who have
Oh,
spoken
he's
about it,
looking to win the ball. He doesn't win the ball.
he doesn't win the ball.
It
And it
means
doesn't
nothing.
matter. He could win the ball. It doesn't matter. It would still be a red card. Because do you know the rule is actually high feet is above the waist?
Oh, I didn't know that.
At least in England, the SFA might have slightly different rules, but if you go to the FA's
They'll just
website,
copy whatever England do.
yeah, the
Look at our league
FA's
structure.
official website states high feet is anything above the waistline.
Wow, I
He
didn't
has it
think it
above
was.
Cochrane's show. It's very impressive he can get his foot up that high.
Yeah,
I'll
it
say
is.
that to him, right? But he
Must do
basically
some amount of yoga, the boy.
he like haluva kicks him in the face, and Cochrane just like you can see Cochrane. People have been like, "Oh well, Cochrane slightly pulls out of it, so is it a red?" Yeah, that means that he's having to
So you
change
would.
his own momentum and positioning. He's not ducking down to get it. He's at full stretch, and it just pisses me off how so many people are like, "Oh well, there's no intent in there." What about getting another decision where intent also doesn't come into it? But people keep going. Oh well, the intent of the player needs to come in. No, it doesn't, because you can't know what a player's intent is. Because no referee's a mind reader who knows what they're wanting to do. It's mental it wasn't given as a red initially. Delighted it was. And Celtic appealing it. And Brendan Rodgers, who, by the way, 2 months ago, almost to the day, his player, Joe Hart, gets a very similar encounter against St Mirren's Olasanya, who receives a red card, and Brendan Rodgers is quoted as saying, the guy's not going for the ball, however, regardless of intent, that's a red card. After the game this weekend, he goes, there's no intent from Yang, so why has he been sent off? It's
I
almost as
wonder
if
why that is, Brendan.
Brendan Rodgers only gives a fuck about his own team and doesn't actually care
Was the
about that
grass an
part of the
appropriate
rules.
length this time?
He can't just go, we were shite and we got beaten by a better team.
No, always cheated, never defeated, my man. Celtic would have the ball in the net on 22 minutes after building from the back, but thankfully it's ruled out for offside after an annoyingly late flag.
Most
Liam
obvious
Scales
offside.
finds Dies Maida, spins inside, eventually finds Adam Ida, sorry. The Irishman can't work an angle to shoot. Matt O'Reilly does, hits off both posts. Great, ruled out rightfully. But Hearts would then try and threaten a lovely switch from Kai Rolls on 26 minutes is taken down by Dexter Lembakisa. The Jamaican crosses for Alan Forrest, but the winger heads over the bar as the Jambos go in search of the opener. Dies Maida would head over from a Matt O'Reilly corner. But 38 minutes, and another talking point, as you alluded to, was to arise. Stephen Kingsley's throw is headed clear by Adam Ida, drops back to him, finds Lembakisa, a tidy little reverse pass sets Neuenhoff in behind, who looks to centre for Shankland, but it's a great block by Liam Scales, and it goes behind for a Hearts corner. That short corner is put into the box by Alex Cochrane. Liam Scales heads up and into the air. It's a terrible ball from Cochrane initially. The Irishman heads it up. It drops down, and Tomoki Iwata appears to have cleared only as far as Kai rolls. He lobs out wide to Alan Forrest, who drives one across the box, but Joe Hart saves, and it trickles out for a throw-in. I thought nothing of it. However, the announcement then goes up that the officials in the VAR room are having a look for a potential handball. John Beaton trying his absolute best, according to Celtic fans, to give Hearts anything. Surprising, given that there was next to no appeals, but I did think it would be very amusing if we were to be given a penalty.
I was appealing. As soon as it happened. Me and Keir jump up and go, that's a handball. And then no one else does. So we sheepishly sit down and go, oh, we've got
When you watch the highlights back, you do hear like a couple of, oh,
yeah, there's
but
some
it's
people
from the stands. I don't think there's a
yeah,
single player.
I don't think there is. Listen, it's a handball by the current rules. You can have an opinion about whether or not that should be a handball, but as again, unbelievably, Chris Sutton was like the most anti-Celtic he's ever been because he was like, yeah, it's harsh, but it's a handball. He was like, if that happened, he's Celtic. he would be like, I'd be wanting a handball for that because that in the rules of the game it is. It's Alistair Johnson's fault, by the way, because he barrels into
Yeah, he and
Iwata.
Iwata are both they're
Yeah,
both into one another, aren't they?
exactly. Iwata's arm goes out, and then actually it's on its way up as it meets the ball. Now, yeah, he doesn't know anything. There is no intent. He's not trying to handle the ball, but that doesn't matter in the current ruling. As Naismith said, it's a soft penalty, but under the current rules, it is. It's exactly why we should have conceded a penalty against St Johnstone when the ball hit Cochrane's hand. I think
Yes.
it's a very similar one to that. And I said at the time, I have no idea how we got away with
There's
that.
also an incident last season, was it Kai Rolls against St Mirren at Tynecastle, if my
Maybe,
memory
yeah.
serves, we were lucky to escape one.
I mean, there was one midweek. St Mirren and Ross County. St Mirren should have got a
Oh my
penalty.
God, that was a shocker.
Yeah, like that absolutely should have been a penalty. They're all penalties under the letter of the law.
But by the time that the officials eventually come to a conclusion, it's George Grant instead of the supposed shite bag Lauren Shankland who steps up and coolly converts past Charles Joseph John Hart. Get that right up here
Yep.
and into the bottom corner, sending his compatriot the wrong way and ultimately firing Hart's ahead. What is Joe Hart's hard man syndrome all about?
I don't know because it's
Why
really
is he
funny
flexing?
considering he had a fucking nightmare the last two games he's played against us, conceding two back-to-back games. But like it
It's
it's
because
one
he's
of
his
these
last
things.
trip to Tynecastle of
Yeah.
his career. Obviously
So
now
it's
he's
just
retiring at
like
the end of the season. He just thinks I'm just gonna try and piss as many of these off as I can.
it's just to try and have a mental edge. And you see it when you watch the highlights back. Grant's just smiling.
He's
Grant's
a
like, yeah, that's
rattled,
fine.
rattled man is
That's
Charles. Like, your name's Charles, mate. Grow up, Joe Hart. Get a grip,
why does he go
Charlie.
over to our fans?
I don't know. Weird guy.
So chuffed for George Grant though. Great penalty.
Yes.
It's actually not. I was about to say great decision for him to take the penalty, as they explained
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yes.
George Grant's penalty. I don't actually think it's that good a penalty because if Joe Hart dives the other way, it's quite a savable height, but he
It's just the
doesn't.
fact that he sends him the wrong way. Yeah.
Exactly. His body positioning is really good because it looks like he's just
His
going to pass it
composure.
into that
Yeah.
other corner,
I,
but then he wraps his foot round it.
Listen, I'm the first to bash George Grant, but he offers far more than Scott Fraser does, as
Yeah.
we've spoken about in these two fixtures. And so I think it's his place to lose. Adam Ida would look to hit back for the hoops, drags a long range effort wide of Xander Clark's goal. But 48 minutes, because it's taken that long, the longest first half possibly in Tynecastle history.
Oh, it felt like
Matt
it.
O'Reilly's closed down by Callum Neuenhoff, has to go back to Joe Hart, who hoofs it long. Sorry, to Charles Hart, who hoofs it long. Stephen Kingsley heads as far as Iwata. Benny Benningham is back to wrestle the ball from him and frees Alan Forrest, who takes a million touches before finding Lauren Shankland out on the right, slots a cool first time finish beyond Charles Hart, and appears to have doubled Hart and Midlothian's lead. Or so we thought, as it's eventually ruled out for offside.
Aye. It is offside, by
Yeah,
the
it's the
way.
correct call.
It's the right call.
But just released the bloody ball, Forrest!
So this was
I
the
was
thing.
screaming!
As soon as it happened, Keir said that, right? Keir was like, why did he not pass earlier? And in my head, I was like, because obviously I'm just viewing it in real time. I'm like, was Scales covering the gap so Forrest felt he couldn't? So I was like, nah, I think Forrest did all
In
right.
front of me!
And
Just
then you watch it
release!
back, and it is like, oh, Forrest, if you pass it 2 seconds earlier,
Oh.
we're fine. Because at that
Even
point,
even Shankland referenced that in his post match as well, which I found
yeah,
hilarious. That was
yeah.
so funny.
It's like, that's one of the moments where you're like, that's giving them a boost before halftime. That is the worst time for that to happen possible.
But the end of the first 45 stroke 50 stroke 55, we were ahead. Perhaps contentiously, undeservedly, but I actually thought that we had played pretty well and limited Celtic to few opportunities.
We were the better team in that half and deserved our lead. Absolutely.
and things were to get better in the second 45. 52 minutes, Callum Newhoff shoots straight down Charles Hart's, I'm just going to continue calling him Charles Hart's throat, after Alex Cochrane and George Grant exchange a cheeky 1-2 from a corner, but the fullback's ball is cleared.
Neuenhoff loves doing that, by the way. That little like flick past
Yeah,
somebody
we
on the edge
shimmy,
of the
don't he?
box and
And
then
then,
hitting it.
yeah,
Yeah.
try and create the space.
Yeah.
Cameron Carter-Vickers would head over from a Matt O'Reilly corner, the stand-in skipper. Callum McGregor's absence was felt for me. That was a big boost
Oh,
for us. I know Kent was a
massively.
massive miss for us, but Celtic a totally different team without their captain.
Neuenhoff just grabbed that midfield by the scruff of the neck and just went, right, I'm running this. And he wouldn't have been
Yeah,
able to do that if McGregor was there.
but Callum Newhoff plays a pivotal part in the second goal. Hearts would double their advantage after just over 10 minutes in the second half. We are forced back to Xander Clark, who smashes it long. Liam Scales wins the header. It drops for Dexter Lembakisa. He gives it to Lauren Shankland, who slides past Liam Scales. He only has Callum Newhoff in support, who he finds, and the Aussie deceives Greg Taylor by hitting the deck. So clever. Slides it back to the skipper, who half volleys beyond Charles Joseph John Hart, virtually passes it into the bottom corner. It's 2-0 to the good guys, and Lauren Shankland has grabbed his 20th Scottish Premiership goal of the season. We are in March. There is 9 games to go. What a man.
You're not taking that in away from him.
No, you
Neuenhoff,
are
listen,
not.
it's funny that
Genius. It's
Neuenhoff's
genius.
but it is genuinely excellent that he
Great
manages to dig
improvisation.
it out
Yeah.
and get it back. And then it's all about Shankland's movement to kind of just go, I think this ball's going to land there, gets in ahead of CCV and just, it's such a good finish.
Oh, right in the corner.
So chuffed.
McIver ran out of superlatives. I really have.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get the Premiership Player of the Season, we should just
What's the
scrap
point?
football.
Yeah.
What is the point? He's been head and shoulders above everybody else. You let that Joe prick. I really have grown a hatred for Joe Hart. Unnecessarily, but what a knob. Get that right round you. Come on! But yes, 2-0 to the good guys. Celtic had a couple chances. Kyogo Furuhashi was probably their best player.
He
And he came
was.
off the bench.
Yeah, he was.
Tries to pull one back, sends a tame left-footed effort from range straight into Clark's gloves. O'Reilly looks to centre for Kyogo or Ida. Cochrane clears the cross after Clark parries. Forrest then sends a cross to the back stick for Lauren Shankland to nod into Joe Hart's gloves as we're unable to make it 3. But the biggest chance, and one that I felt as though this is going to be our day, came on 77 minutes. A terrible pass from Kai Rolls is pounced upon by Kyogo, feeds it out wide to Adam Ida, who just looks to bend one beyond Xander Clark and into the far corner with his right foot. But it's a great save from the goalkeeper. It breaks to Matt O'Reilly, but Macaulay Tate blocks superbly on the slide.
I was
And I
just,
noticed today he's away with the Scotland under-19s.
yes.
The club that I volunteer at, our manager is also a Scotland under-19s coach. So Macaulay Tate, I will be getting a report from Fez. Don't let us down.
So chuffed for him. He deserves it. Alistair Johnson should have been sent off for his challenge on him, by the way.
Oh my God.
It's a red
And then
card.
he gets raging when Tate looks to do him back.
Yeah, like he's furious that an 18-year-old won't square up to him.
Yeah, what a knob.
Absolutely pathetic.
Just as you think that like Celtic have some likable players, I'm like, no, they
No.
don't. Absolutely not.
That image though with Tate, Denham and Devlin or Rude
Brilliant.
Johnson is amazing.
Massive fan of that.
Do you know that in that moment, Carter Vickers, obviously as a captain, runs over and Shanklin does as well to kind of like separate it. And as Carter Vickers goes to push Devlin away, Devlin just grabs a hold of Carter Vickers' chin and shakes it. And it's like Devlin is the best at just being
Loves a bit of
immediately
shitting,
infuriating.
Yeah.
But he never does anything like wrong. So a ref would just be like, oh, well, he's not done anything. I love him.
He's grabbed your chin.
Yeah, like, it's all
Grow
right.
up.
Clark was fantastic. And generally, the whole back three were, because of the red card, it did become a 3 instead of a 5. And just Sibic fucking strolled it.
Sibic, considering he's been out in the cold, was excellent. I thought Stephen Kingsley was immense as well as a sweeper.
But this is the thing. So I actually...
He's unfamiliar within the 3.
I actually watched this game back. Right? So yesterday, as I was sat, I was like, I'm going to watch this back. So I watched the full 90 back. I didn't actually appreciate how good Kai Rolls was in the game. Rolls was
And
excellent.
again, if McIver's Alexander Clark an apology, I'm okay rules an apology.
Yes,
Well
exactly.
done. I said either Paolo Maldini or Paolo
Yeah,
Nutini. It's
true.
good to see he was like the
True.
Milan defender.
But yeah, like, ironically, and again, for me to say it, I thought our weakest player was Cochrane on the day. I still thought he was
Yeah.
all right, but I just thought
Something about the green and white hoops that
he doesn't
Cochrane's
like it.
fears. Maybe
I
just leave him out for Morton.
Yeah,
The blue and white might get
exactly.
confused. We don't know what's going on.
I thought it was Lembekisa's best game since his debut. I thought he
Yeah,
just
really good.
pocketed Maeda completely.
He's first choice over Atkinson for
Yeah,
me. I'm sorry.
definitely. I thought Benny was back to his best. He faded a wee bit at the end, but I thought
He was
generally he was really
absolutely
good.
knackered by the end of
Yeah,
it,
he was
Benny.
fucking exhausted. But for me,
Should return,
the
but
best player on that park was Callum Neuenhoff.
by a distance.
Just unbelievable. He fucked up a pass. Celtic broke, and then he ran about 40 yards and tackled it, won it back, and started to move again.
And again, this is a classic case study as to why we shouldn't be too quick to judge players
Yep.
because Neuenhoff started in start, but now's our best midfielder by a country mile. Probably what I would say, maybe third, fourth name on the team sheet.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Nazy must be so smug after saying at that
Oh,
fan event thing that he'll be a good player.
a
And literally, it seemed
massive
like
bet
the
it when he
week
bounces.
after that,
Yeah.
he just became
Wonder if he's
class.
then gone in and gave Callum Neuenhoff an absolute rollicking and said, "Oh,
Like,
I've just put my
right,
neck on the line for
come
you. It's time
on.
to turn up, you wee tadger." And Neuenhoff
Exactly.
shat it and gone, "Whoa, hold on a second."
Hey, if that is what's happened, it's
It's
fucking
worked.
worked.
It's worked a treat. I know. I want to talk about one last chance, which would have just capped off a wonderful day. A Celtic free kicks headed away by Toby Civic. You're nodding because you know what's coming here. On 83 minutes, Greg Taylor miscontrols. Kioski Tagore pounces upon it, and Hearts look to break. The forward has Cammy Devlin and Macaulay Tate in support. The three substitutes race away as the Japanese striker plays it out to the teenager, who just continues driving but sends such a tame
Team,
left-footed
it's
effort
so
towards
rubbish.
goal. And Joe Hart gathers with ease and ultimately denies him. But that would have just been the cherry on top of the icing, on top of the cake.
Additionally, Tagawa's chance right at the end where it gets caught at his feet.
Yeah.
But I will say, I said this on Twitter. I was really chuffed with Tagawa. I think that was his best game for us, which is a weird thing to say considering they only got 12 minutes. But
And he looked all right at Ibrox when he
I
came
know,
off the
yeah,
bench
he
as
did.
well.
I don't know what's
What's all
happening.
that about?
But actually, no, I do know what's happening. I literally said when he came on, this is a team that he should be good against because he'll be playing off the shoulder. Celtic are going to sit in.
Oh,
Celtic are going to
true.
be
Yeah.
pushing, and
Hadn't
that's
thought
his
about it like that.
strength. His strength is he's fast, as you see in that breakaway. The only reason he doesn't get completely away is because it's Maeda chasing him. If it's anybody
Yeah.
else, he's away. Um, I'm gutted for him that he kind of get caught in the feet. I think that sums up his confidence that he isn't expecting Hammy Devlin to pass it to him. Like everyone on the ground knew that Devlin was passing it, but I think Tagawa thinks, oh, he's just going to go himself. So I think it sums up what his confidence is. But that moment where he gets a standing ovation for blocking Joe Hart's attempted clearance is great. And it's like, I
Yeah.
hope that
That's
he
exactly
takes
what we need to
confidence
do and
from
try
it.
and
Yeah.
get behind them. It'd be brilliant if he actually was given a chance at Morton, say, and like
Hmm.
tucked one just for
Yeah.
a bit of belief because he's obviously scored against Thistle earlier on in the
Yeah.
season, another championship outfit. So might well get the chance on Monday night. But first time we've won back to back against Celtic since 2009, in the league since 2006.
Yeah.
And the first time, Daniel McIver, we have kept back to back clean sheets against Celtic since 1993-94.
Crazy.
Absolutely unheard
Crazy.
of stuff. But what a win.
And
And
that's it.
and one that we didn't see coming at all.
I think that's the result that's got us third. There is what,
Yeah.
26 points left, 27 points left of 9 games.
27 because we've got
Yeah.
9 to go yet.
And we're 14 clear, 13 clear.
13 clear of St Mirren in fourth, 14 clear of Killian fifth.
Right. So we'd need to drop out of the next 29 at least 13 points. 27, sorry. And St Mirren or Killie would need to at least match that as well. It's done.
considering we've got Kelly in our next game at Tynecastle,
Yeah, it's
that could
massive.
that could all but seal the deal, and go to Paisley shortly after that.
Yeah,
So we could be looking to seal it shortly.
amazing, buzzing.
But our attention now turns towards the Scottish Cup, which we are hopefully up for. Aberdeen take on Kilmarnock at Tawdry on Saturday at a 12:45 kickoff. Glad to see they've taken Kelly fans making the trip up north into consideration.
Yeah,
Celtic host Livingston at Parkhead at 2:30 on Sunday, with Hibs versus Rangers not until 5:30. Both of those on Viaplay, of course. However, on Monday night, we head through to Inverclyde, taking on Greenock Morton in a rare trip to Capello, live on BBC Scotland and the BBC iPlayer. The Jambos take on the Tawn in the fourth and final quarter-final with a place at Hampden up for grabs. Morton's 16-game unbeaten run came to an end at the weekend as they lost 2-0 at home to Duncan Ferguson's Inverness Caledonian Thistle. That's still so bizarre to say. They host league leaders Dundee United at Capello this evening as we record. You listeners will know the full-time score. We don't have that luxury. I'm just going to check how they're
it's
getting on.
currently
Last I saw, they were
1-0
1-0.
to Dundee
Yeah,
United.
1-0 down Louis Moult with a goal for United. What are you thinking in terms of team, score, the outing itself?
I'm buzzing.
Capello,
I'm buzzing for it. I can't
great
wait.
ground. Can't wait
Never
to go.
been, obviously.
No, it's brilliant.
I'm very excited for it, but I will be honest, I'm not very excited for the game itself. I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be
Oof.
tough. You just had Dougie Imrie on View for the Terrace over the weekend, and he spoke about it.
Oh,
And
was
he
he on
said,
Friday night? Was he?
yeah, he
I
was.
didn't see that. I'll need to catch that.
And he spoke about the fact that he believes that at Capello they can beat anybody because
Well, they've already taken a Premiership scalp, Motherwell, in the last round.
exactly. He spoke about the fact that against Motherwell, the game plan was just do not let them play the way they want to play. High energy in their faces. Don't allow. In a weird way, it's kind of the opposite of what I thought they were going to do. I thought his game plan would be low block, let us have the ball, but win individual battles and be a nightmare to play against. Try and keep the ball in the air and stuff like that. But actually, he said no. The game plan is be aggressive, stop them from playing. So I just think it's going to be hard. Listen,
He's done a brilliant job on a shoestring budget
yeah,
because they're
he's
not
done
blessed with
unbelievable.
a ton of cash that's on.
And also, as I say, on that View for the Terrace, he comes across as just a really sound guy. He just seems really lovely.
Polar opposite of when he was a
I
player.
know, exactly, exactly.
Bizarre.
I think it's going to be really tough. I would just play the same 11 that started
Yeah,
against Celtic. I would just go for it.
interesting. I can't disagree with that, to be honest. Maybe even like, I don't know, would you tinker with stuff in terms of personnel, like, or formation? Should we be setting up? Should we be setting up rather with a back three stroke five against Morton?
I would
I
say
don't know.
though it is a 3, and
And just let the
and it
fullbacks
allows, yeah, exactly.
pop in
So
the
it
wing
is
if we set up
actually
ball on.
pretty front forward facing.
Okay. Scoreline.
I think we'll win, but in extra time.
Okay.
I think 2-1 us. Shankland and fuck it. Hagawa winner. He sent us to Hampden.
Sensational. Who gets the goal for Morton? Robbie Muirhead.
No, George Oakley, just because he just
George
doesn't
Oakley.
seem to be missing. I know
His
he's not
boy.
scored yet tonight, but I've
His
just remembered
boy.
you've
The
actually
thought of Kai Rose and totally Civic up against him.
you've just reminded me about Robbie Muirhead. I didn't even think of that actually. Shit. It might be Robbie Muirhead scores a fucking raker because he
A
just seems to
Robbie
score
Muirhead
rakers
worldie. Yeah, it'll be a free
every
kick from
week.
about 40 yards and we'll
Yeah.
just go, oh, brilliant.
What about you?
2-0 Hearts.
I fucking hope you're right. I hope
I
it's
hope so.
comfy. We thought this about
What?
Airdrie. We thought it was going to be
Yeah.
really tight, and in 25 minutes we've blown them away.
Well, no, I said by a couple of goals, but then they exceeded their expectations that night. I hope that's a similar case
Yep.
against Morton at Capello. However, before we go, we have got the end is near quiz. I'm conscious of the time, I realise, but 2 games,
It's a long episode and
a
it's a
weekend
we
win,
won,
a
exactly.
wonderful win against Celtic.
It's
Who doesn't
fine.
want to talk about us, or who doesn't want to listen to us talk about a win over Celtic? Yeah, let's just move on. Your quiz, you have a true or false, potentially 2 multiple choices, the who am I.
That means
But,
one of them's a bastard.
but your first question, I thought I'd give you a wee open goal here. The Jambos are one of 7 Scottish Premiership teams to be taking part in the Scottish Cup quarter-final against the last non-top tier team, Greenock Morton. But who are the 5 Premiership teams to have already been eliminated in the competition?
Oh, shit. Livingston, St Johnstone,
Bear in mind,
Motherwell.
I said about the tie, so you better have been listening.
I wasn't.
Give us them again.
Livingston?
No,
Wait, what? They are out.
no, they're in it. They go to Celtic.
Do they? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Right, sound. So, Motherwell, St
Why have you now got me
Johnstone.
doubting this? I'm certainly do.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Celtic Livingston on Sunday.
Okay, I realised I didn't know who Celtic had. Livy are still in it. Fair play, Martindale. Getting loads of cash.
Yeah, well, I was about to say, you think of how much he's prioritising this. He's
Absolutely
begging that
fair
there's
play.
60,000 there on Sunday.
Fair fucking play.
And he was delighted that it was chosen for Viaplay, no doubt.
Right. Are St Mirren still in it?
Start again. Start again.
Right. St Johnstone are out.
Yeah, they're out.
Motherwell are out because Morton put
Yeah.
them out. Who else is in this fucking league? Did you say that?
I
Right,
thought this was an
7,
open goal.
2, so I'm missing 3 teams. Right, listen, it's been a long show. I'm no thinking. Hold on, I can't even fucking think. Dundee are out.
Yeah.
Right, that's 3. St Mirren on the in it. St Mirren are out.
Is 4.
Right. Who else is in this fucking league?
Way up here. Like really up here.
Ross County.
Thank you. It's 5.
See, when you went
Jesus
right up
Christ.
here, my brain went, Rangers and Celtic are both in this.
Oh, mate, geographically. Oh my goodness.
Listen, I got it. It's fine.
God,
1 for 1. Come on.
Just as well I didn't give you lives, Jesus.
I know, great.
We just leapt in with Livy.
Fucking hell.
You're true or
Right.
false, Daniel McIver. Hearts head through to Greenock on Monday night. That is true. And a rare trip to
I'm like,
Capital
I've got this shit.
to take on the Taunt in the Scottish Cup quarter-final. True or false? Capello is the oldest stadium still currently used in the SPFL.
False.
It is in fact true.
Is it?
Opened in 1879, Morton are one of 2 clubs to have called Capello home, the other being Clydebank, who played there from 1999 until 2002.
I thought like
Bit of pointless trivia for you.
Stranraer would have like a fucking ancient ground.
Take up with the SPFL. I lifted it directly from them.
Fair play.
Question number 3. And a thank you very much to Scott at Heart Stats for helping me with this.
Oh, fuck off, Scott.
Xander Clark denied Adam Eder from the spot, saving his second penalty of the season after Martin Boyle's effort was saved at Easter Road. But who was the last Hearts goalkeeper to save 2 spot kicks in the same season? Was it A, John McLaughlin, B, Janos Balog, C, Marianne Kello, or D, Jamie McDonald?
Right. 3 of those names popped into my head.
Okay.
I didn't think of Barrow. And the first name that popped in my head was McLaughlin.
Right.
So it's interesting that you had him first. The 2 the problem is I can remember all 3 of them saving pens. McDonald was quite good at saving pens. Hello was good at saving penalties. He saved one against St Mirren, funnily enough. I'm just going to go with my gut, though, and go with John McLaughlin, because that was the first goalie that came in my head.
Daniel McIver, it's not John McLaughlin. I said to Scott, is it Marianne Kello?
That was my second.
It's not Marianne Kello. The answer is Jamie McDonald in 2013-14.
I can think I'm saving pens, but I thought
Kello-
McLaughlin did it.
Kello was coincidentally the last one to save 3 in a season, so I got told it was a great guess, 2010-11. But after Jamie McDonald back in 2013-14, we then went 7 years without a single one being saved. Crazy.
I want to know if one of the Marion Kello ones was against St Mirren, because I have in my head that he saved a penalty against St Mirren. So Scott, let us ken.
Scott, feel free to get in touch. Question number 4. I alluded to this earlier on in the show. If Hibernian don't cement a top 6 spot, this could be the first season in the Scottish Premiership without a home victory in the Edinburgh Derby since when? I can give you multiple choice if you would like it.
Hold on. Right. Is it the championship season? No, no, it's not. No, it's not. Because we beat them 2-0 in the opening, the first derby. Then we drew all the rest, I think. Go on, give me multiple choice.
2017-18, 2018-19, or 2019-20.
Fucking hell, so it's a lot more recent than I thought. Right. 1920, we beat them at Easter Road the last derby. I was there. Mark McNulty stamped on Claire's back.
I was there that night as well. 3-1.
Bozanic scored one
Yeah,
of the best
not
goals I've
right.
ever seen. Um, what were the other results in that year, though? We got beaten Boxing Day.
That was his
Oh,
last win at Tynecastle.
yeah. Fuck, what was the first derby result there? Because it could have been that. Is that us? No, it would have been Easter Road. Did we win that? I'm going that. I'm going 1920.
Ah, it is that because
Yeah!
the Aaron Hickey winner.
Oh, of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get in.
Damn, that was at both those. That was brilliant.
Fucking yes.
Well, your logic was right. You
Yep.
got there. You got
Take
there.
that.
Finally, we end with your Who Am I? So you've done all
Right.
right. What was
I've
that?
done
Two
all
out of
right.
four?
2 out of 4.
Sorry.
Take it.
Your Who Am I is I began my career at Gretna, but was ineligible to face Hearts in the 2006 Scottish Cup final due to being on loan elsewhere. I joined two Tayside clubs before eventually landing in Edinburgh, where I made my Hearts debut at Ibrox and assisted the goal which the Men in Maroon scored. I scored just 3 goals for the Jambos, but we won all 3 of those matches, 2 of which by a sole goal. I left HMFC after suffering injury and needing surgery, with the club citing financial decisions as the main reason for my departure. I had trials with Blackpool, Carlisle United, and Sheffield United before coming back up the road to sign with St Mirren. I eventually left the Buddies for Dunfermline before eventually joining the aforementioned Carlisle United, the only non-Scottish club that I signed for. Who am I?
I feel like I know this. The first clue you gave that rang a bell with somebody. Starting my career. For some reason, I've got Adam Eckersley in my head, and I know that's not right because Eckersley surely won't have started his career. My logic is
Got this
this.
man's Wikipedia up.
This is my logic. That it's the 14-15 championship season. That
Okay.
it's whoever got So's assist when we won at Ibrox, it must be him. But who the fuck would have been at Gretna? Oh, I weirdly have this idea of who it is, but I don't know what question to ask
Okay.
to get me any closer. Because I've just like decided that it's that season. So do I ask that season? Because it's probably a waste of a question. There's no point in asking the clubs because it's well established. I don't know any fucking clubs that anybody's played at. Am I asked the position? What position did this player play in?
This player was a defender.
Is it Adam Eckersley? Why would he have started his career at Gretna though? He's English. And he said he only played for fucking one English team. Who? Why do I remember something about starting at Gretna, but he couldn't play in it? I can rule out Eckersley actually by asking one question. So even though I'm confident in when it is, I'm going to ask it. Between what years did this player play for Hearts?
This player played for Hearts between 2011 and 2013.
Oh my God, it's not Eckersley. And it's not even the season I'm thinking of. This is put the cat amongst the pigeons. Shit.
That's your questions.
There must be some, just as a separate point, I know you don't have this information, but I swear there's somebody else more recently that was also at Gretna when we played them in the final but didn't play and then like went on to play more recently with us. If anybody knows who I'm thinking of, or if I'm just going mental, let me know. See, the problem is the questions are now really bad because I thought I had already zoned in a time period. And now that I haven't, I cannot think of a fucking defender that played in that time at all. Can you read the clues again, please?
I can. I began my career at Gretna, but was ineligible to face Hearts in the 2006 Scottish Cup final due to being on loan elsewhere. I joined two Tayside clubs before eventually landing in Edinburgh, where I made my Hearts debut at Ibrox and assisted the goal which the Men in Maroon scored. I scored just 3 goals for the Jambos, but we won all 3 of those matches, 2 of which by a sole goal. I left HMFC after suffering injury and needing surgery, with the club citing financial decisions as the main reason for my departure. I had trials with Blackpool, Carlisle United, and Sheffield United before coming back up the road to sign with St Mirren. I left the Buddies for Dunfermline before eventually joining the aforementioned Carlisle United, the only non-Scottish club that I signed for. Who am I?
Right. I'm very glad that I asked the questions because I realised I misheard a question. I
Which
thought you
was
said in a win against Rangers, but you didn't. You just said an assist for a goal against
very,
Rangers.
very good, McIver.
Right. Carlisle. That's ringing a bell for someone, but I don't know what it is, so I'm discounting Carlisle. Right. Defender 11-13, scored 3 goals. Who was the defender that scored during that time? Gowser, but it's no Gowser. Zal was here for much longer. Well, Webster's weird because you can't really include him because he was that you would have said that. Did Brad Mackay make his debut in that season? I think Brad Mackay's played at Carlisle though. Although, did Brad Mackay, would he have got an assist? Is it maybe a fullback then if it's an assist? Can't you really think of Brad Mackay goals? I'm really conscious of time. Who are
No
who are
rush.
other defenders in that time? They must be Scottish if they started at Well, Gretna's in a weird place because English. Oh, wait now. I did think of Eckersley. Is there any other English folk who could have been? He did play at Carlisle. Right, I'm discounting anybody who like played in the cup final that we won because you would have mentioned that it was like iconic. So I can't think of like any goals that defenders would have scored at that time. Who was our right back at that point? It was Gowser. Right, Gowser was the right back. So it can't be him. It can't be Zal. It can't be Webster. I'm just naming the fucking back line that played against Hibs the cover. Danny Granger's part of that anyway. Darren Barr. Oh, Darren Barr. I don't think Darren Barr would have played for Carlisle. And Darren Barr, no, because Darren Barr's only goal for us was in that final. You're laughing because you can't who it is. I think it's obvious. Right. I'm just going to go for a stab in the dark. I can't even get any other fucking defenders. Did I just say Webster for a laugh, even though I know it's not fucking Webster? I remember we played Motherwell, I think it was at home. And for some reason I was in the Wheatfield stand and a guy shouted at Danny Granger, "You're shit." And Granger scored like a raker and turned to the fan and like pointed. But Danny Granger wouldn't have, I thought Granger was only here for that season. But he can't have scored 3 in that one season. I would remember that. I feel like I'm just going to say Andy Webster. No, fuck it. Just because I named the rest of the fucking defence. Is it Danny Granger?
Daniel McIver.
It's Andy Webster, isn't it? You fucked the clues.
You are making an annoying habit of stumbling into the correct
Is it
answer.
actually
It's
done?
Danny Granger. You bastard. I specifically did not name the cup final because that
You
would have given it
bastard
away.
for not including that, by the way. Fuck
I
you.
said he scored, and 2 of which are by a sole goal. That was the exception.
Did he score against Motherwell? Was that one of his goals?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember he like turned and like shushed a guy in the wheat field.
On the 21st of October 2012, Granger scored a winner in a 1-0 win over Motherwell from a free kick, and a month later, with the same result, he scored the winner, but this time a win over St Mirren.
I remember that goal. I don't remember the St Mirren goal.
I remember the St Mirren one because I'm pretty sure that was the last match or the perceived last match in our history.
Was that?
I
See,
think
this is the
that
thing.
was,
I don't
yeah.
remember the game at all because I just remember the
And I kind
atmosphere
of
and
try to
stuff.
touch on that because what was it I said? The club citing financial decisions as the reason for my departure, the main reason
Oh,
for my departure. I thought I might give it away,
I think it is
but
Granger who I was thinking of about the Gretna thing. Because
it is,
I
yeah.
think that is who I was
Well, of
thinking
course
of.
it is because it's the
Well,
correct
yeah,
answer.
but I mean, like, I thought it was more recent than that. I thought there was somebody that, but yeah,
I
I
don't
seem to
know.
remember in the
He
build-up,
was
they,
on loan at Brecon, so he couldn't play
yeah,
because in the run up to 2012, they were talking about how I think he'd been at United and had missed out on a final.
they
Maybe St
interview him in the
Johnstone's went on a
build-up to
semi.
it, and he
Aye,
speaks about
and
it.
he
Yeah,
spoke about yeah because Gretna weren't aware that he was ineligible. I think till the
right.
morning of, and then his dreams were shattered. But hey,
But then he got them.
scored in our most famous win, Danny boy. He made amends. He came up because I've logged into the Perth to Paisley Instagram account where we obviously follow Danny Granger, and I
Mhm.
see that he's leaving his management position at
Oh,
Workington at the end of the season. So
wow.
don't know what's next for Danny Granger, but an absolute
Get him
legend.
back as a
So
coach.
yeah, get up the road, Danny boy.
I
What a
am
man.
so chuffed with that.
I can't believe it's so annoying.
I couldn't think of any
See when
other
I think that I've got you,
defenders.
you literally you reeled them off like McGowan, Zaliukas, Webster. I'm thinking, no, don't give me the final member of the back four. And then you just seemed to discount them. I was like, oh yes. So here we go. But
Come
yes,
on.
that Danny Granger is the man. What a guy.
Get in. Well, you all probably got that a lot quicker than me, but we hope you have enjoyed this longer episode. It was always going to be after the result of the weekend, but we hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. It massively helps us out. If you've been watching me struggle on YouTube, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Perth to Paisley on all the socials, perthtopaisley@gmail.com if you want to fire us over an email. Adam, where can they get you on all the socials?
Talking about your struggles, if you're watching me trying to prevent myself from pissing my pants, then thanks very much. You can find me on all the socials, rewatching that wonder goal against St Mirren and maybe the one against Motherwell as well. At Adam T. Kendall, what about yourself, mate?
I'm at DMcIver22. We're back next week, the day after the Morton game, to discuss everything that happens at that. Hopefully, we're seeing you as we're through to a semi-final, but we're not totally sure. Until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Come on the Hearts!